Turley was such a community advocate, and she especially loved her symphony. I had the privilege of working with her for 20 years, probably 20 plus. And she was actually one of the first people I met before I even had a job with the symphony. I moved here and volunteered. And yeah, you know, and so anybody she met over the last 20 years, she would inevitably bring them in.
I met her when I first moved here. And, you know, she was the community builder. She was the introduction to all the people in town. And she had a way of, her enthusiasm was palpable, and her sense of community. So the next thing you knew, you were volunteering for things or going on boards or saying, sure, why not, let's do it.
She had this soft demeanor, but a tenacious determination if she had a project that she was working on. And you're just instantly brought into her world.
And willingly, right? So that's one of the things I remember most about her. You'd be thinking, it's not worth doing, or, you know, it's a dream, and she would be able to just ignite the enthusiasm. I'm only one of many, many, many.
She was a person who was not afraid of hard work. She made you feel that you were important, and she was always interested in you more than talking about herself. For Nanaimo, I think she was just one of our cornerstones for culture and anything business or development for Nanaimo.
She was born in northern Germany. When they built the Berlin Wall in 1962, they emigrated to Canada. And she ended up taking agriculture at UBC, which is what I have a degree in as well, and that's where we met. We bought into my parents' flower business here in Nanaimo. Marianne was a stay-at-home mom until they were about 5, the girls, and then she started working part-time in the store, and then we got more and more involved in community events. And when our kids were in school, she was always working on some position with the PAC committee. And then she got involved in the Chamber of Commerce and served a year as chair as well, being on the board there. I don't know how many fundraisers she organized for the symphony, but it was fairly significant.
Symphony of Roses was, we did it for 17 years, and I say we, it was a fundraiser for the symphony for 17 years, done by Marianne and Jim Turley and the Turley's florist staff. And it was a great fundraiser for the symphony and very unique, and it was Marianne's creation. All communities need volunteers, and so everybody's contribution really matters. But Marianne took it above and beyond, which we're so grateful for. I actually really believe that the symphony would not be where it is today without her support for so many years, and continuous support. You know, she didn't just do our Symphony of Roses. She was an advocate for our fundraiser. We used to do these big auctions every year, and she was the chair of those committees most of the years, and then she also did we have a program at the Symphony. It's an integrated music program for all grade 4s in the region, and she started Women of Note, which is a group of women that supported our education program, which allowed kids to come, because it's, you know, school districts pay $1 per child, which doesn't cover the cost, so funds had to be raised. And she was just such an advocate that arts and culture were so important for our community.
She was genuine in everything she took on. She was sincere, and I've never met anybody who just was a heavy lifter all the time when it came to anything community, whether it's chamber, tourism, hospitality, the waterfront, anything beautiful. So here's a lady who would take a bunch of flowers and turn them into bouquet, a beautiful bouquet, and that's what her life was.
I really learned from her about what it was to be an iconic community leader. I don't really think there's anybody in Nanaimo that is as iconic and as dedicated as she. We are lucky in this community that we have some great community leaders, but I don't think we have anybody that was ever as tireless as she was. And all of us loved and respected her so.
3 of her friends were the ones that went and organized and got all the information put into the city, excuse me, for the award. And of course, I couldn't have anything to do with it because being on city council, it would have been a bit of a conflict. She didn't like to be recognized, and I'm not big on it either. We just enjoy doing things for the community.
She was very excited to be nominated, and she was quite a firecracker, but she was very humble. And I think she was tickled that she was going to be recognized. And the first thing she said is, "I wish they'd hurry up, because I'd like to be alive to see it." And sadly, she wasn't able to do that. She was a fighter. She fought that cancer with every ounce of her body, and I think we all admire the kind of grit she had.
There's nobody I can think more deserving than her for this award. It is everything that she was about. When I collected the letters of support, I was really pleased that I was able to send those to her, and she read every single letter. And the letters that came in was a cross-section of Nanaimo. Every letter drew a tear, but they all had that common thread of who Marianne was.
When it was getting closer to the time, we sat down and talked, and she told me that she expected me to keep doing things for the community, and I said, well, yeah, I'm going to have to, because I got to do something. I can't sit around here and feel sorry for myself.
I think we owe a great gratitude towards her, and on just the economics of it. The symphony is a huge economic driver to this community. All the arts and culture is, and I think sometimes people forget that. They just think it's, a fluff, or it's only for the wealthy, or, but it stretches so much farther than that. The programs for children for music, just what art does. Right here in this park, we have beautiful pieces of art that people get to admire. So we need people like Marianne and to remind us how important it all is.